Hey guys, and welcome to my first SPFBO 9 review. So I asked Twitter whether you guys wanted me to start with cuts or books that are safe, and 54% of Twitter said you guys wanted me to start with cuts. But there were a couple of comments by previous authors who have participated in SPFBO who said that it would be kind of unpleasant to be cut before you could even participate. Okay, I will start with books that are safe. So this is Feast by Stuart Sims. I think this is going to appeal to people who enjoy classic fantasy and not necessarily classic epic fantasy, really more classic fairy tale folklore fantasy. So this focuses on three characters, so it's fairly small scale, small cast. Um, and they are up against the Unseelie Court. So we have all different sorts of folklore fae showing up, the crone, and just a whole bunch of old school, ancient feeling classic fantasy. The tone was darker. The fae are not nice in this. The cover kind of tells you what to expect. I think it's a good cover. It definitely shows the vibes that you get in the book. It is accurate. Um, so Kenrig, our main character, is kind of like The Witcher, kind of. She like rides around and looks for trouble and helps people out. So she has this sidekick, and he is sullen. He doesn't really like Kenrig, and he knows deep down it's unfair. So Kenrig tried to help him and his father several years before the start of the events of this book, and his father ended up dying anyway. And he's been blaming Kenrig for this for years. So although he's like a student, he's learning like how to read magic words in this world. Like you can't read them like you would regular text. It's really difficult. You have to like side eye it, and it's interesting the magic and the way it works. So he's trying to learn magic from her, and all the while he's just like quiet and sullen, and it's just not a great relationship. So they run into this girl named Lissy pretty early on, like first chapter, I think. And this girl Lissy is able to like see in her dreams. So things that happen in her dreams like almost always come true, whether it's her grandmother dying or a dog running away or like this guy having an affair with his fancy lady in some other town. She has, prophetic dreams. And so she tells Kenrick she's seen her coming and she knows who she is. And that's interesting, obviously, for a bunch of reasons. And that the Unseelie Court has stolen away the villagers and have held them captive, basically. And so Kenrick tries to go and rescue these villagers. And that is basically the whole plot of this book. It starts off a little bit slower for me. And that's actually because so much of the book at the beginning is like setting up the world and the plot and the fae, that the characters themselves don't really come into their own until later. I do eventually get pretty attached to them, but it takes a while because they kind of take a back seat for the first part of this story, which is fine. Like the atmosphere is great. Like I really like the tone and the creepiness of it. Um, she has to solve riddles by the crone and like all this really old school classic stuff. So it's hand wavy-ish magic. It's got runes and spells, and the wild hunt comes into this later. So it does kind of go chaotic at the end. So the pacing picks up as it goes, which is how I prefer things. Starting slow and building up is fine. Starting fast, going slow, then building up annoys me. Sometimes I'll DNF if it like lags in the middle. But I'm much more tolerant of something that slowly builds, especially if it crescendos the way it did at the end. So I liked this a lot. I don't want to say too much more about the plot. So basically, I used to give out like scores. I don't know if I'm going to be doing that this year. I think I'm just going to say safe or cut. And then once I announce my semifinalists, I'll give some scores. So for now, you are safe.